got 2,500 boats in the water here, and there are specific needs for the boats. Basically, they need a place to store their boats when they're not being used. You know, to do basic maintenance, cleaning, just sit back and enjoy. So one of the key things that we have to do when it comes to the boats is education. Constant education with the boaters. You know, we're get delivered the information first from the regulatory agencies or some new technologies, and it's our job to make sure that that information gets transferred to the boaters so they know the new and proper ways to maintain their boats and enjoy their boats, so that they're protecting the environment, protecting the water quality, conserving water. It goes on and on. But really, I'd say our biggest goal or our biggest challenge here is to make sure that we disseminate that information to as many boaters as possible. But not just the boaters. I mean, we have public that are down here that don't own boats, may never own boats. And so we do the same thing to the general public that comes down and uses the parks or walking their dogs or just come down to sit on the grass for the afternoon. It's always a public outreach and education and information. The idea of the Clean Marina California program is more based on the brick and mortar facility. For those of us that run waterfront facilities and marinas, we needed to first figure out what we could do to keep things green and clean. Things like recycling stations and pump out stations, filters and traps in our storm drains, free bilge pads for their bilges, education, boater education, what we do and the products that we use and how we train and educate our staff. And again, you heard me speak earlier about boater education. A huge part of what we do is boater education, because as the information and technology comes to us in our offices, we have an easy way to disseminate it and keeping our facilities as green and as clean as possible, and then educating the boaters. It's a great combination, and you can see the successes that we have here in Dana Point Harbor. When they built the facilities here, there was no thoughts about storm drains and collecting your first flush from a storm event, or grease interceptors for the restaurants, and a whole mix of different environmental issues that we're concerned with today just didn't exist back then. So in order to implement things like the stormwater interceptors and the grease interceptors and the sewer improvements, we have to do some construction. Unfortunately, all of that is underneath the building. So the buildings have to come down, the asphalt has to come up, and we have to put all new infrastructure. And that infrastructure is going to continue to work towards more and more improvements to water quality here in the harbor.